Think about the last lie you told. Not a big one, something small. Maybe you said you were fine when you weren't. Maybe you said you were almost there when you hadn't left yet. Maybe you agreed with something you didn't actually believe. Now ask yourself, why? Because the answer isn't what you think. And it says something about your brain that most people never want to hear. Lying is not a character flaw. It is not a moral failing. It is not something that separates bad people from good ones. Lying is a cognitive skill, one that your brain developed early, refined constantly, and deploys automatically, often before you have made any conscious decision to do it at all. The average person tells between 1 and 2 lies every single day. Not dramatic ones, not calculated ones. Small, quiet, completely automatic ones. And the brain doing the lying is the same brain that genuinely thinks of itself as honest. In 2002, psychologist Robert Feldman at the University of Massachusetts ran a simple experiment. He asked pairs of strangers to sit together and have a normal 10-minute conversation. Nothing unusual, no pressure, no stakes, just talk. Afterward, he showed each participant a recording of themselves and asked them to identify every moment they said something that wasn't completely true. The average person found 2.92 lies in 10 minutes with a complete stranger they had just met, and almost none of them had noticed they were doing it in the moment. The lies weren't planned, they weren't strategic, they emerged automatically, mid-conversation, before the person had consciously decided anything. Which raises the real question. If lying is so automatic, so constant, so invisible even to the person doing it, where does it come from? The answer starts earlier than you would expect. In 2007, developmental psychologist Kang Lee at the University of Toronto began studying the emergence of lying in children. What he found was striking. Children begin lying as early as 2 years old, before they have language to explain themselves, before they understand consequences, before they have any concept of trust or its violation. A 2-year-old who knocks something over will look an adult in the eye and say they didn't do it, not because they were taught to, not because they observed it, because something in the developing brain reached for deception as a natural response to threat. Lee's research showed that the earlier a child begins lying, the higher their IQ tends to be. The brain that lies is not a broken brain, it is an advanced one. Lying requires holding 2 versions of reality in your mind simultaneously, the true version and the constructed one, and managing both without confusing them. That is a cognitively demanding task, and your brain learned to do it before you could tie your shoes. But why? What is lying actually for? The evolutionary answer is uncomfortable. Deception exists across almost every species with a brain complex enough to produce it. Primates deceive. Birds deceive. Even plants deceive. Some species mimic the appearance of other plants to attract pollinators they don't actually feed. Deception is not a human invention. It is a survival strategy. And for humans, it solved a very specific problem: social living. The moment your ancestors began living in groups, sharing food, forming alliances, navigating hierarchies, the ability to manage what other people believed about you became a survival advantage. The truth, unfiltered, is socially dangerous. It threatens relationships, disrupts alliances, invites retaliation. Your brain learned that managing other people's perception of reality was sometimes more important than giving them an accurate version of it, and it has been running that program ever since. Psychologists divide lying into 2 broad categories. The first is self-oriented lying, lies told to protect yourself, to avoid punishment, embarrassment, or conflict. These are the lies children learn first. They are the lies most people tell most often. The second category is other-oriented lying, lies told to protect someone else, to spare their feelings, preserve their confidence, maintain their comfort. These are the lies we call white lies. And research shows something interesting about them. When people lie for someone else's benefit rather than their own, the brain processes it differently. The guilt response is lower. The cognitive load is lighter. The brain, it seems, is more comfortable lying when it is convinced itself the lie is kind. This is where it gets stranger, because the most insidious form of lying isn't the lie you tell other people. It is the lie you tell yourself. Psychologists call this self-deception. And unlike regular lying, which requires you to know the truth and consciously withhold it, self-deception operates below the level of awareness entirely. You genuinely believe the false version. You have convinced yourself so thoroughly that the distorted reality feels accurate. Research by psychologist Ziva Kunda in the late 1980s showed that people unconsciously seek out information that confirms what they already want to believe, and dismiss or reframe information that contradicts it. The brain is not a neutral processor of reality. It is an editor, and it edits in your favor every time. The person who insists they aren't angry while behaving angrily is not lying to you. They are lying to themselves first. The person who tells you they are fine and means it may genuinely not have access to the accurate version of their own emotional state. The story your brain tells you about yourself is is not a neutral document. It is a carefully managed narrative, edited constantly, designed to protect your sense of who you are. Psychologists have a name for this. They call it the self-serving bias, the consistent, measurable, universal tendency for people to take credit for their successes and attribute their failures to external circumstances. It is not vanity. It is not weakness. It is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do, maintaining a version of you that feels worth defending. So what does this mean for the lie you thought of at the beginning? The small one, the automatic one, the one that came out before you had fully decided to say it. It means the line between honest and dishonest is not where most people think it is. It is not a line between good people and bad people. It is a line your brain crosses hundreds of times a day in both directions without asking for your permission. The most honest thing you can say about human beings is that we are not naturally honest. We are naturally social. And honesty, when it serves the group, is one tool among many. When it doesn't, the brain quietly reaches for another one. Look back at that lie, the small one, the one you told without thinking. You weren't being a bad person. You were being a person. And every person who has ever lived has done exactly the same thing. The question was never whether you lie. The question is whether you know why.